Hello there everybody. Here is the first 1 minute tip that will most likely take longer than a minute because I don't know how to shut up. But anyway, I wanted to talk today about exposure. What is the camera exposure? It's the most basic fundamental principle of photography. So what happens is the camera is just like your eye. Your eye has the pupil, the retina, and I guess for lack of a better example, your eyelid, where the camera has an aperture, a sensor, and a shutter speed. And the shutter speed and aperture are the two main factors that allow light to come in and hit the sensor or your retina in your eye. Right? Light travels through your eye, hits your retina, records an image, then goes to your brain, and you create an emotional response. I remember my psychology teacher, Mr. Mecca, at Scranton Tech, saying that we do not see with our eyes, we see with our brain. Our brain interprets the light coming in through our eye and turns it into an emotional experience. And that's the difference between you and your camera. The camera stops when it records the light. It is a tool. It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't tell you, oh, that's so pretty or anything like that. It records light. And it does that through the aperture and the shutter speed. And what are those two things? The aperture is how wide the lens will open up so that when the light comes in, it can come in at a faster speed or a slower speed, depending on how much gets through. Just like the Lincoln Tunnel. If there's 500 cars trying to get through, you're not going to get through that fast. But if it had 500 lanes, and each one of us was in our own lane, we'd get through the tunnel a lot faster because it was a bigger tunnel and could handle more cars. So the larger the aperture, the more light that could get in, and the faster the camera can take the picture because it gets the appropriate amount of light it needs in a quicker amount of time. The shutter speed is the opposite of that. It's what I was just saying is how long will the camera be open? The longer that it's open, the smaller you should have your aperture because you don't need as wide a tunnel to handle the traffic coming in. Real quick, I'll show you an example here. So I'm thinking for a shutter speed, the difference would be here's a camera taking a picture at 250ths of a second. You hear that click, right? You hear that all the time. But you may never have noticed if a photographer is taking a picture in low light or nighttime sky or something like that. Here's the shutter opening and closing at 1 second. Sounds a little different, right? You can hear it open and close. Where when we were back at 250ths of a second, it basically sounds like one click when it's really two. It's the shutter opening and closing so that the picture could be taken. So learn as much as you can about your aperture and your shutter and how they combine to let the right amount of light through your camera.